When I was a kid, my dad took me to see the movie King Kong vs. Godzilla, and I loved it. This was about the same age when I first read Lovecraft. Now, naturally, there's all kinds of jokes and memes and comments about Cthulhu versus Godzilla or similar things. I hear this kind of stuff at conventions all the time. People will say, oh, we could easily handle Cthulhu if we had giant mechs like Pacific Rim. So the question is, could we? Could we really? Let's discuss it. Now, in the most recent version of Godzilla, he's about 350 feet high. Now, by my calculations, Cthulhu is about 300 feet, though obviously his size may vary, but he is bulky. So a Godzilla is a little taller. They're probably not too far from the same mass, or at least they would be if Cthulhu was made of earth matter. Now, Godzilla has two different ways he fights. The first is good old fisticuffs, where he punches and kicks and lashes his tail and bites some. Well, he doesn't bite that much, but a little bit, you know. And this is actually the majority of the combat in a Godzilla movie. But this, obviously, is not going to be able to destroy Cthulhu. Though it could slow him down, maybe even break him up. After all, when Cthulhu was hit by a giant ship bigger than either Cthulhu or Godzilla, this exploded him and made him reform. Of course, that was just after he woke up, so Cthulhu may not have been on his mettle, or maybe it wasn't Cthulhu, you know. But in any case, Godzilla has another weapon, as famously, his atomic breath. Now, this might possibly have an effect. Check out this awesome video from Shin Godzilla. Now, why do I think Godzilla's atomic breath would work on Cthulhu? Well, because the Elder Things, the Yithians, and the fungi from Yuggoth were all able to fight wars against Cthulhu, and they weren't wiped out. They had weapons that would affect the star spawn, in other words. We don't know what the fungi used, but the Yithians and the Elder Things had particle beams and atomic devices, which is basically what Godzilla has. I am going to say that the atomic breath scene in Shin Godzilla was amazing. And I'm going to say something else you might find a little surprising coming from me, Cthulhu's high priest, so to speak. I think that Godzilla's atomic breath would clearly break up and probably kill a star spawn. Cthulhu himself might be tough even for the atomic breath, but perhaps not impossible. Now, Cthulhu can fight back. He can warp spatial geometry, making it harder for Godzilla's breath to hit him. Cthulhu can also emit energy blasts of his own, and I suspect if Cthulhu can close with Godzilla and get his tentacles and amorphous body on Godzilla, it's going to be all over for the king of the monsters. But I admit Godzilla has at least a fighting chance. If we took Godzilla and Cthulhu and put them in a pit where they couldn't escape, given that Cthulhu can travel through space, that might be hard, but if we could, it'd be an interesting fight. Unfortunately, Godzilla has another drawback. You see, Cthulhu knows all about Godzilla. Cthulhu is a genius beyond human level. He has telepathy, he has mind power, and here's a concern. We know that Godzilla is vulnerable to mind control. He's taken over by hostile aliens in several of his movies. So the real threat might be that Cthulhu would take over or direct or trick Godzilla into working for him. Then we have not just Cthulhu, but also Godzilla. And in the end, there is another obstacle. You see, Cthulhu, and this is something that's forgotten a lot, Cthulhu's not alone. He is the ruler of millions of star spawn, many nearly as large as him, with power similar to his. Now, of course, you can argue that's not fair, because the whole point of Godzilla versus Cthulhu is to go one-on-one. But if you're trying to use Pacific Rim robots to fight Cthulhu, you better take this into consideration, because, you know, he will. Consider this. A bear, or a gorilla, is way stronger than a human. He's easily able to kill a human, but the fact is that humans kill hundreds of bears or gorillas for every human who's killed in return. Part of this is because there's more humans, but it's partly because we're smarter, and it's partly because we have other powers on our side. We can throw spears, we can have arrows, we can have guns, tools, right? Now, in Cthulhu's case, he has Lovecraftian science. So Cthulhu has probably brains and numbers and Lovecraft science, and he is actually much closer to Godzilla in physical strength than we are to a bear. So, while the mind experiment of Cthulhu versus Godzilla is interesting, that's not really how it would ever come down. What about other ways of dealing with Cthulhu, like giant robots? Well, the armor of the robot is going to be precisely useless because Cthulhu warp space. If the robot's piloted like a person, like in Pacific Rim, that person is going to go insane and be ineffective. Heck, Cthulhu might even arrange things so a cultist is the guy in the robot. If Cthulhu manages to grab the giant robot, then your best case scenario is that the next fight is Cthulhu oozing into and taking on and wearing the armored suit. I guess what I'm saying here is that humanity, no matter how advanced our technology, can't really compete with Cthulhu. Every technological trick we can do, Cthulhu has mastered long ago. I'm sure that at some point he's fought aliens that had giant robots. He's fought people that had atomic bombs. Now, if we had Godzilla on our side, that might last a little longer against Cthulhu. Godzilla might even survive a Cthulhu takeover, because it's not really worth Cthulhu taking him down, so I bother. So, there it is. Giant robots don't really have a chance against Cthulhu, in my opinion, though it might last longer than without them. Godzilla might possibly win in a one-on-one fight against Cthulhu, but I can't really see any reason Cthulhu would fight that way. If you disagree, let me know in the comments.